Good morning to all my Indian brothers and sisters. I am Bhagat from Team Daiboddho, and I convey my heartiest greetings to all my Indian brothers and sisters on the occasion of 75th Independence Day. And I am glad to inform you that our Team Daiboddho is organizing a cultural event that includes song, recitation and speech on 5 topics. The topics are the patriotic activities of Bhagat Singh and the ideology and contribution of Hindustan Socialist Republican Association in Indian independence. The third topic being the struggle and the sacrifice and martyrdom of Master Surya Sen and the contribution of Jugantar Samiti in Indian independence. The fourth topic being from the formation of INA to the contribution of forward bloc in Indian independence, and the fifth topic being the Naval strike of 1946. And it is my highest pleasure to inform you that the topics that are chosen for the speech in our cultural event are unique, because these are the topics, these are the very arena of the Indian independence struggle which is unknown to most of the people of India. And our organization tries to bring them in the forth and make people aware of the events, the particular arena of Indian independence movement, which are still unknown to many of the Indian brothers and sisters. Moreover, today, in the 75th Indian Independence Day, our organization Team Daiboddho is finding its greatest pleasure to pledge that we will be focused towards building India and to build India and to move India towards the path of development. It is very important to make its students knowledgeable, to make the students acquire the best education that they can. And for that purpose, our organization has come up with a program Save Paper, Save Forest. In this program, we are collecting the old copies from the school students and remaking the copies, making new copies out of the old copies, and then distributing the new copies to the needy students who are unable to acquire those copies, or they are able to acquire that copies but they are unable to get good reference books for their subject matters. If we can distribute the new copies to the needy students and distribute stationery items like pen, pencil, eraser, sharpener, etc., they will be able to save money over these stationery items and the copies, and therefore with the money that they are saving, they can utilize it to buy reference book and hence acquire quality education. And the quality education that they will be acquiring will be ultimately moving India towards the path of development. And since we love India, it is our foremost responsibility to be a worker, be a soldier, to move India towards the path of development. And our Team Daiboddho is responsible for this contribution. We want to give our best in this path, and for that each and every member of our organization is highly dedicated. With that, I would like to end on my part and keep watching the next part of our cultural event. Thank you.
जहाँ डाल डाल पर सोने की चिड़िया करती है बसेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा, वो भारत देश है मेरा। भारत हमको जान से प्यारा है, सबसे न्यारा गुलिस्ता हमारा है। सदियों से भारत भूमि दुनिया की शान है, भारत माँ की रक्षा में जीवन कुर्बान है। भारत हमको जान से प्यारा है, सबसे न्यारा गुलिस्ता हमारा है। देश मेरे मेरी जान है तू, देश मेरे मेरी जान है तू। देश मेरे मेरी शान है तू, देश मेरे मेरी शान है तू।
Hello everyone, I am Oniket from Daiboddho team. Today I am going to deliver a speech on freedom struggle and martyrdom of Surya Sen. Surya Sen was born on 22nd March 1894 in Vaidya family at Noapara in Chittagong. His father was a teacher. In 1916, he was a BA student in Murshidabad. He learned about freedom movement from Satish Chandra Chakravarti. Finally, he became the president of Chittagong branch of Indian National Congress. Mastarda actively participated in non-cooperation movement. He looted the treasury of Assam Bengal Railway to gather money for the upcoming revolution and was imprisoned for 2 years. Surya Sen led a group of revolutionaries on 18th April to raid the armory of police and auxiliary forces from the Chittagong armory. The plan included seizing of arms from the armory as well as destroying the communication system so as to separate Chittagong from the British Raj. They captured the arms but failed to capture the ammunition. After few days, a large fraction of revolutionary group was considered in the nearby Jalalabad hills by a British Indian Army detachment. 12 revolutionaries died in the fight, many arrested, and some managed to flee, including Surya Sen. Surya Sen stayed hiding and kept moving from one place to another. Lived as workman, farmer, priest, a house worker. This how he avoided British police. He hid in the house of a friend which was near the house of one of his relatives, named as Netra Sen. Netra Sen silently told the location of Surya Sen and he was caught. But before Netra Sen could be rewarded by British, he was beheaded by another revolutionary named Krinmoy Sen with a long knife. But Netra Sen's wife was a big supporter of Surya Sen, so she never told the name of the revolutionary who was the murderer of Netra Sen. I think Mastarda was one of such revolutionary who was brutally tortured. There are reports how his bones, limbs and joints were shattered by a hammer. In addition, his nails were taken out when he was alive, not dead, he was alive. After such a brutal torture, he never broke. His last letter to his friend. Death is knocking at my door. My mind is flying away towards eternity. At such a pleasant, at such a grave, at such solemn moment, what shall I leave behind you? Only one thing, that is my dream, a golden dream, the dream of free India. Never forget the date of 18th April 1930, the day of Eastern Rebellion in Chittagong. Ultimately, he was hanged on 12 January 1934 with another revolutionary, Tarakeshwar Dastidar. Surya Sen is considered one of the leading revolutionaries in British India and is a highly respected figure in both India and Bangladesh. Residential halls have been named after him at both the University of Dhaka and Chittagong. Kolkata has a metro railway station and a street named after him as well. I wish you all a very warm 75th Independence Day. Jai Hind. Har Dil Tiranga.
Hello everyone, myself is Monisha Datto and I am from Daiboddho branch of Dharmanagar. Now I am going to deliver a speech about Naval Strike of 1946. The Royal Indian Navy Mutiny was an insurrection of Indian naval ratings, soldiers, police personnel and civilians against the British government. In India, the revolt started as a strike by ratings of the Royal Indian Navy on 18 February in protest against general conditions. The immediate issues of the revolt were living conditions and food. By dusk on 19 February, a naval strike committee was elected. The strike found some support amongst the Indian population, though not their political leadership, who saw the dangers of the mutiny on the eve of independence. The actions of the mutineers were supported by demonstrations which included a one-day general strike in Bombay. The strike spread to other cities and was also joined by the elements of the Royal Indian Force and local police forces. Indian naval personnel began calling themselves the Indian National Navy and offered left-hand salute to British officers. The revolt was called off following a meeting between the president of the Naval Central Strike Committee, M.S. Khan, and Vallabhbhai Patel of the Congress with a guarantee that none would be persecuted. Contingents of the naval ratings were arrested and imprisoned in camps with distressing conditions. So from this we can conclude that this event even more strengthened the determination of all the Indian people to witness the end of the British rule. Another remarkable feature of this mutiny was the massive outrush of public support for the mutineers. After the mutiny, the British realized that it could no longer hold on to India under them. That's all. Thank you.
Hello guys, I am Tilanjan Devnath from Team Daiboddho and I convey my heartiest greeting on the occasion of 75th Independence Day to all my Indian brothers and sisters. Today my topic is about Petrolic activities of Bhagat Singh. Bhagat Singh was born on 27 September 1907 was a charismatic Indian revolutionary who participated in the mistaken murder of a junior British police officer in what was to be retaliation for the death of an Indian nationalist. He later took part in a largely symbolic bombing of the Central Legislative Assembly in Delhi and a hunger strike in jail, which on the back of sympathetic coverage in Indian-owned newspapers turned him into a household name in Punjab region, and after his execution at age 23 into a martyr and folk hero in northern India. Borrowing ideas from Bolshevism and Arnism, he electrified a growing militance in India in the 1930s and promoted urgent introspection within the Indian National Congress, non-violent but eventually successful campaign for India's independence. In December 1928, Bhagat Singh and an associate, Shivaram Rajguru, both members of a small revolutionary group, the Hindustan Socialist Republican Association, also Army or HSRA, shot dead a 20-year-old British police officer, John Sanders, in Lahore, Punjab, in what is today Pakistan, mistaking Sanders, who was still on probation, for the British senior police superintendent James Scott, whom they had intended to assassinate. They held Scott responsible for the death of a popular Indian nationalist leader Lala Lajpat Rai, for having ordered a lathi charge in which Rai was injured and 2 weeks thereafter died of a heart attack. As Sanders exited a police station on a motorcycle, he was felled by a single bullet fired from across the street by Rajguru, a marksman. As he lay injured, he was shot at close range several times by Singh. The post-mortem report showing 8 bullet wounds. Another associate of Singh, Chandra Shekhar Azad, shot dead an Indian police head constable, Channan Singh, who attempted to give chase as Singh and Rajguru failed. After having escaped, Bhagat Singh and his associates used pseudonyms to publicly announce avenging Lajpat Rai's death, putting up prepared posters that they had altered to show John Sanders as their intent target instead of James Scott. Singh was thereafter on the run for many months, and no convictions resulted at the time. Suffraging again in April 1929, he and another associate, Bhagat set off to low-intensity homemade bombs among some unoccupied benches of the Central Legislative Assembly in Delhi. They showed leaflets from the gallery on the legislators below, shouted slogans, and allowed the authorities to arrest them. The arrest and the resulting publicity brought to light Singh's complicity in the John Sanders case. Everton Trial, Singh gained public sympathy after he joined fellow defendant Jatin Das in a hunger strike, demanding better prison conditions for India prisoners. The strike ending in Das' death from starvation in September 1929. Bhagat Singh was convicted of the murder of John Sanders and Chanhan Singh and hanged in March 1931, aged 23. He became a popular folk hero after his death on 23 March 1931. Jawaharlal Nehru wrote about him. Bhagat Singh did not become popular because of his act of terrorism, but because he seemed to vindicate for the moment the honor of Lala Lajpat Rai, throw him out of the nation. Thank you and have a nice day. Jai Hind.
নমস্কার। বঙ্গমাতা, বিশ্ববন্দিত কবি রবীন্দ্রনাথ ঠাকুর। পুণ্যে পাপে দুঃখে সুখে পতনে উত্থানে মানুষ হইতে দাও তোমার সন্তানে। হে স্নেহার্ত বঙ্গভূমি, তব গৃহ ক্রোড়ে চির শিশু করে আর রাখিও না ধরে। দেশ দেশান্তর মাঝে যার যেথা স্থান খুঁজিয়া লইতে দাও করিয়া সন্ধান। পদে পদে ছোট ছোট নিষেধের ডোরে বেঁধে বেঁধে রাখিও না ভালো ছেলে করে। প্রাণ দিয়ে দুঃখ সই আপনার হাতে সংগ্রাম করিতে দাও ভালো মন্দ সাথে। শীর্ণ শান্ত সাধু তব পুত্রদের ধরে দাও সবে গৃহ ছাড়া লক্ষ্মী ছাড়া করে। 7 কোটি সন্তানেরে হে মুগ্ধ জননী, রেখেছ বাঙালি করে মানুষ করণী। 7 কোটি সন্তানেরে হে মুগ্ধ জননী, রেখেছ বাঙালি করে মানুষ করণী। নমস্কার।
Good morning everyone and hello everyone. I am Shamantrita and today we are going to discuss about the Indian National Army and the Forward Bloc. The Indian National Army, also known as the Azadi Force, was an armed force formed by Indian nationalists in 1942 through the patronage of the Imperial Japanese Army to secure the independence of India. The first INA was formed under Mohan Singh, a former officer of the British Indian Army captured during the Malay Campaign. Conditions in the prisoner of war camps as well as resentment against the British in general saw many prisoners of war volunteer join the Indian National Army. Although Mohan Singh had angered the Japanese Army command through his actions, they relented to form a second Indian National Army. Mohan Singh himself recommended that Subhash Chandra Bose for the leadership role. His reputation as a committed nationalist was known both to the Indian diaspora of Southeast Asia and the Imperial Japanese Army. As such, they were more open to the idea of a nationalist army led by Subhash Chandra Bose. The activities of Subhash Chandra Bose in India had forced the British authorities to imprison him, but he escaped and reached Berlin in 1941. After Subhash Chandra Bose took command of the Azad Hind Fauj, there was a swell of volunteers looking to join the INA. Although Subhash Chandra Bose agreed for the INA to remain subordinate to the Japanese army, he saw it as a necessary sacrifice towards the fulfillment of the ultimate goal of freeing India from the British Empire. The Azad Hind Fauj participated in Operation Yugo, the 1944 Japanese campaign towards British India. Now, the forward bloc of the Indian National Congress was formed on 3rd May 1939 by Subhash Chandra Bose, who resigned from the presidency of Indian National Congress on 29th April after being overmaneuvered by Mohandas Karamchand Gandhi. The formation of the forward bloc was announced to the public at a rally in Calcutta. Bose said that who all were joining, they had to never turn their back to the British and must fill the pledge form by cutting their finger and signing it with their blood. Bose became the president of the forward bloc and S.S. Kavishar is vice president. In July 1939, Subhash Chandra Bose announced the committee of the forward bloc. It has Subhash Chandra Bose as president, S.S. Kavishar from Punjab as its vice president, Lal Shankarlal from Delhi as its general secretary, and Vishwambar Dayalu Tripathi and Khurshid Nariman from Bombay as secretaries. Inside India, local activists of the forward bloc continued the anti-British activities without central coordination. In 1965, the party joined a progressive front in Tripura. The front consisted of the Communist Party of India, the Forward Bloc, and a breakaway faction of the Socialist Party. The front demanded nationwide land reforms, strengthening of the national defense, withdrawal from the Commonwealth, nationalization of foreign capital, a rational food policy, release of all political prisoners, and scrapping of Indo-American Agreement of food supply. Existence of the new front was declared at a meeting in Agartala on 17 November. Mass rallies of the front were held in Bilonia on 28 November and then in Birchandra Bazar near Bilonia on 1st December. The front did not last, though as in 1967 election, the Communist parties aligned with a splinter group of the Congress party. The Forward Bloc did not present any candidates in that election. In Tripura, a left front was formed consisting of the CPIM, ISP and the Forward Bloc. The front launched one Forward Bloc candidate, Brajagopal Roy, in the town Bordwali constituency. Roy won the seat with 7,800 votes. In the beginning of the 1978, the left front formed a majority government in the state with Brajagopal Roy appointed minister in the state government. The Forward Bloc established its presence in Tripura in 1944, founded by Kamla Ranjan Talapatra. Bengali immigrants like Sailesh Sen, Gopi Ballabh Saha, Drijen Deo, Anil Das Gupta, Hiren Nandi, and Sati Bhardwaj are the other active members of the party.
Hello everyone, I am Diptanu Shom and I am going to deliver a short speech on the contribution of Hindustan Socialist Republican Association in the freedom struggle of India. The Hindustan Socialist Republican Association was a revolutionary party set up by Ram Prasad Bismil and his associates to fight against British colonial rule in India and achieve independence for the country through an armed rebellion if necessary. The party was initially named Hindustan Republican Association by Bismil when he formed it in 1923. The main reason for the party's formation was Mahatma Gandhi's calling of the non-cooperation movement in 1922 because of the Chauri Chaura incident. While some of the leaders of the Indian National Congress broke away from it and from the Swaraj Party, Some of the younger nationalists and workers became disillusioned with the idea of non-violence and considered revolutionary movements as a way to achieve freedom. The constitution of the HRA was drafted by Bismil in 1923 at Allahabad with the blessing of Lala Hardayal. Other prominent members of the party were Sachindra Nath Sanyal and Yogesh Chandra Chatterjee. The HRA formed centers at besides Allahabad, Agra, Kanpur, Varanasi and Lucknow also. It also had bomb manufacturing units at Calcutta and Deoghar. A manifesto for the party was written by Sanyal titled Revolutionary. It contained incendiary material asking the youth of the country to join the party and take part in freedom struggle. It did not approve the methods used by Mahatma Gandhi and criticized them. The manifesto stated that it sought to achieve a federal republic of the United States of India after overthrowing British rule. It also demanded universal suffrage. The material espoused a socialist society for India. The pamphlets were distributed in many cities in northern India. In between 1924 to 1925, many young people joined the party, prominent among them being Bhagat Singh, Sukhdev and Chandrasekhar Azad. The organization conducted many robberies and raids in an attempt to raise funds to acquire arms and ammunition. The most famous incident was the Karakori conspiracy. This occurred on 9th August 1925. Members of the party looted a train carrying government money near Lucknow. An innocent passenger was killed accidentally in the process. People involved in the episode were Bismil, Ashfaqullah Khan, Rajendra Lahiri and Thakur Roshan Singh. All four were eventually hanged by the government in 1927 for their involvement. The Simon Commission came to India in 1928. The lack of Indian member in the commission, which was meant to deliberate on India's future government, was met with widespread condemnation and protest. National leader Lala Rajpat Rai was severely lathi-charged on the orders of a British officer, James Escott. The 63-year-old Rai died as a result of injuries sustained a few days later. This enraged many revolutionaries who vowed to avenge his death. Bhagat Singh and Rajguru shot another police officer, John Saunders, in a case of a mistaken identity. They had intended to shoot Scott. However, the HSRA still claimed that revenge had been exacted. The next major activity of the HSRA was the Central Assembly bombing case. Bhagat Singh and B.K. Dutt bombed the Central Legislative Assembly, Delhi on 8 April 1929. Their only intention was to make the day fair and not to harm anybody. Nobody was injured in the bombing and both revolutionaries courted arrest after the incident. As they were arrested, they shouted slogans like Inqilab Zindabad and Down with Imperialism. For this case, both Singh and Dutt were sentenced to transportation of life. But in the meantime, the case of the murder of Saunders was linked with Singh. In 1931, Bhagat Singh, Rajguru and Sukhdev were hanged to death for it. In 1929, the HSRA also bombed a train carrying the then Viceroy of India, Lord Irwin. He was unharmed. Azad was also killed by the police in a shootout at Allahabad in 1931. After 1931, most leaders of the party had been killed or imprisoned. HSRA is one of the important topics of modern history. Thank you.